wanted to start out with just hearing some of the panel's experiences with how they're using social media today in the realm of attracting students, and some of your successes and failures that you've had with that.
Okay. Well, how many of you have Facebook posted or tweeted since you've been here? How many of you use the hashtag? Okay. There's like 12 posts on the hashtag. That's why I'm kind of curious. One of the difficulties in social media is it can take a lot of time to manage it all properly. And students can post to a comment with a negative comment, and you need to be able to reply to it and take care of that situation almost immediately so that you can prevent any issues that may come from that, or, God forbid, other students seeing it and commenting from it there. So it does take a lot of time and some constant maintenance. Having somebody who has the time to do that on top of their other responsibilities, under other duties as assigned, which I'm sure we all thoroughly enjoy, is having somebody to manage all of that and to know what to and what not to post and how to prevent a negative response from a post by just a simple wording of it. We had a situation where students posted on one of our web pages, on one of our Facebook pages, about getting in contact with us, how they hadn't heard anything, and of course we could look back and see the 17 emails we had sent them in the last 6 months, to which they replied to some of them, but they've never heard from us. And then how to manage that, the damage control from that, and then another student commented, and we took care of all those situations. But having the time and someone that has the time to really maintain the social media network on top of their other responsibilities is really probably one of our biggest issues with it. Yeah, your turn.
In regards to the timing, I did a webinar on Facebook, and they actually recommended you have someone devoted to social media full-time. And we all know we can't do that. So part of my other duties is the social media, and I do try to get in there and post as frequently as possible. But like Patrick said, you have to be really attentive to the responses. I posted last night on our website, Facebook, that we are here at Connect Learning, all kinds of new happenings in the online world, and of course I got a negative post almost immediately. And so as a result, my director asked me if I was going to delete it, and I said, absolutely not. This is a learning experience. And the post was in regards to financial aid, which my hands are tied. I don't work in financial aid. So I just gave them the contact information and let them know that we're always here to help them. So hopefully someone maybe saw it and thought, shoot, I need to apply for financial aid. And that was a reminder as in regards to learning, and then the other one hopefully maybe calls financial aid and gets on them and not me anymore. But in regards to our Facebook, we have 2 Facebook pages, one devoted strictly to online, and then one also for the entire college, so we can hit the 2 areas. And possibly they may not know about the online one, or they may not even know about our online program, but they are on our online or on our Highland Facebook page, so that they can see that we do have both. I would recommend really getting it niched out so that you have just a specific online one. That way you're hitting your target audience, and you may not get as many ignores that way. We use it mostly for reminders and updates, particularly if the drop deadline's coming. We know students are on Facebook every day. It's on their phone, it's in their face, it's their routine. So they may not check their email, but I guarantee you they're gonna see their Facebook. And so we've seen, actually, success-wise, a higher drop rate, which in the big scheme of things may not be great, but at least your failure rate is going down. So we've had some successes in regards to that. But as far as reaching new students, it's been kind of difficult, because obviously the only ones that are on our Facebook page are the ones that know about us already. So those are kind of the issues that we've had the most problems with as far as getting new students.
How many of you in here are responsible for your institution's Facebook page? Raise them up high. Okay, very few. All right. I think one of the issues that we have run into at our institution, it's kind of like, yay, let's get on Facebook and our problems will be solved. And unfortunately, if you look at the organizational chart in terms of of marketing and recruitment and admissions and all of that, you know, it's that sort of gets lost in the maze of responsibility. And so, you know, we've got a webmaster who takes care of our site, but yet every department on our campus is responsible for their page on the site. And so, the responsibility sort of gets muddy. And then the next thing you know, instead of having one Campbellsville University Facebook page, you've got 12. And so there has to be a better, you know, first off, I think before anyone approaches this and begins to do this, you know, you need to sit down and figure out some type of organizational chart that puts specific responsibilities in specific areas. And so, because I think eventually what happens, and what I've noticed on ours, is that you sort of get lost in the crowd, so to speak. And if you're not purchasing your presence on Facebook, you know, you've got all types of advertisement popping up beside it, and you know they're trying to find Campbellsville University, and Liberty keeps popping up on the side, you know, and that kind of thing. And I just think there needs to be a lot more thought put into developing your Facebook page before doing so. And one thing that Sarah pointed out that I think is dead on, and something we're trying to do with our campus culture, is separate the online from the traditional campus. Because a student, you know, that's looking for an online education doesn't want to be taken to a page that, you know, is geared towards that 18-year-old graduating high school. You know, they want to find things in as few clicks as possible. They want to go straight to that online page and be able to get that information quickly. So I agree with Sarah. I think that the online Facebook presence should be separate from the traditional campus. They can be linked, but they need to be separate.
That's actually a really good point that he just made, and I'm glad you just made it, Tim, because the thing that Facebook allows us to do is, obviously, you can like each other's page. So what we're preaching to schools is certainly keep it separate, because you can keep the messages separate and you can keep it more focused. But by linking the two pages, your posts follow the other sect. So things that may interest the online student that have to do with ground-based programs or the campus itself, for example, sporting events, certainly are still very popular. If we know that 80% of the student base is within 100 miles, 50 miles of the campus, even if they're taking classes online, then certainly it would stand to reason that they might be interested in participating in some of the campus events. So by allowing them to see some of that, by liking each other's pages online versus ground, you have a little bit of the best of both worlds there. I think that's a really good point. Well, we talked a lot about struggles there, let's be honest, but I think there were some really good positive points in there, and it sounds like y'all are taking some really good action to address those struggles, if you will. One of the things that and this may seem backwards to everybody, one of the things that we always try to do, though, is because we're so big on metrics and reporting and understanding our successes and failures, how do you guys define what a success is when you're measuring your social media marketing efforts? You know, what is your definition of a success?
I guess with the size of our institution, every like is a little bit of a success. Sure. Anytime someone's going to follow us and listen to what we have to say, it's a positive impact that we can have. And you never know after that like if the student follows you every day or whether they never look at you again. So it becomes really difficult to measure without specific analytics and different things that play into how everything works. The interactions we get with the students, the likes, the posts, see when a student calls and says something, I saw on Facebook you da-da-da-da-da, or we saw on whatever you did this or that and the other thing, where they can kind of follow you. And they feel, when a student calls and they feel like they're already connected to you because they've seen what you've been doing for the last 6 months while they've been trying to order their transcripts, is a little bit of a success. We have a little difficulty with our size and really lack of ability to measure specific areas of success within it. You just kind of, some of it's almost blind faith. You post and hope to God someone sees it. and hopefully 200 people see it, and everyone applies, and the world's all happy. But you just got to kind of do it and hope that it's playing a part in your retention and your application process.
Sure.
For us right now, we're just trying to be visible. We measure success by just saying we're visible. We can't recruit, we can't do anything unless we are visible to our students and to their parents, their grandparents, everyone, and just hope that maybe through the news feed, someone that isn't currently with our college will see that and pass it on. It could be grandma, it could be anyone. It could be your husband, your teacher. So we're hoping that with our social media, that's how we're getting our name out with the visibility. But it's funny because we were reading the newspaper this morning, and there's an article in there about social media driving freebies. And so we are hoping to maybe try something different. It talked about how 7-Eleven had promoted some free Slurpees, and their sales jumped 40% in baked goods and 25% in coffee. I mean, just across the board. So we're discussing possibly putting some freebies on our Facebook and maybe mailing a mouse pad, a flash drive, something if they just mention that they saw us on Facebook to try and drive our page statuses up a little bit. But for us, it's just being visible. And we talked a little bit about the time management of it all, and we use a service called Hootsuite. I don't know if you're all familiar with
We use the
Hootsuite.
same thing.
You can go in and you can schedule those Facebook, and it'll hit all of your media targets. We use Textcaster, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can go ahead and schedule it in there. So if you know about certain dates of things that you're going to be doing, you can sit down in one day and just put it all in for the entire year. And that is really helpful. So then you're not having to think about, oh my gosh, the drop deadline is in 2 days. I got to get that on Facebook. And then, of course, the phone rings, and then you forget. So that helps with just the big information getting out there. So then we can use our Facebook page. We try to, like during finals week, do you have any study tips? Are there any, to make it more fun? Because it is so easy for a student to click that X and ignore you permanently. And we don't want that to happen. It's called Hootsuite. It's HOOTSUITE.com. And it's fabulous. And that really helps with time management.
We use it as well.
Yeah.
We actually use it at the Learning House as well.
Have y'all gotten good analytics out of it as far as who all is looking at your pages and maybe trends on any engagement?
I don't think it does that. I think it's really just scheduling so that you're not in there on Facebook, because it's going to hit all of your, I mean, if you've got one message but you want to hit all of your targets, it's just going to push them out for you.
Yeah, do you guys use the free version of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things is if you do upgrade to the pro version, which is about $10 a month, it gives you more than enough capabilities. It does add some analytics and some metrics tracking to it. In particular, because it's social media, it's really about mentions. It goes out and it actually sees on those different platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and so on, how much is our school getting talked about? And that's obviously what we're talking about here. But I believe in the upgraded pro version, we have analytics in there. There may be some metrics, some analytic tracking that you can use in the free version. For those getting started out, just because we've used the product quite a bit now, I highly recommend starting with the free version. Obviously, free is always good, right, in our world. So, and it may do what you need it to. The other thing is, if you're using Google Analytics, there is a tie-in to Google Analytics to obviously analyzing how much traffic you're getting from social media platforms as well. So you certainly want to continue to revert back to your kind of your cornerstone analytics, which a lot of times is Google Analytics.
Your Facebook page does come with some analytical data that'll help you follow what's going on. If anyone's talking about your post, if anyone ignored your post by clicking that little X, it's telling you. So it kind of gives you an idea of maybe what to look for and what not to do. A lot of students didn't seem to care that we were here, so, but those kind of ideas or information is out there on Facebook.
I think in terms of our case, it's difficult to correlate the information off of the Facebook page with any type of retention. However, with the analytics that you can create spreadsheets from the various statistics of that page, you can watch traffic. And so, in my opinion, that's basically, when you're talking marketing, I really don't associate this with retention so much as I do with a marketing scheme or tactic, whatever you want to call it. And so, I've gone in and downloaded, as an Excel spreadsheet, the various, they've got several different columns of statistics that you can look at. And I think if you do that, those of you that have that access, you're going to be surprised that you're probably not getting near the traffic that what you would think you would. It's Facebook, everybody's there. But the thing is, in terms of marketing, I don't see Facebook as that great of a marketing tool from the standpoint that folks are on there to make connections with people they know in most cases. They're on there swapping photos with family or friends or that type of thing. And that's why sometimes I'm concerned that from a marketing standpoint, I think as a school or a business, whoever's trying to use Facebook, I think they get lost in the pile of junk, so to speak. And so, what you talked about with offering something that kind of makes you stand out, you've really got to be on the cutting edge of everything in terms of that marketing with Facebook so that you don't become one of that millions of people who are trying to advertise and not do anything spectacular. An interesting note, a few months ago, we had a mission group that was coming back from a mission trip, and on their flight, they had, there was a lady who claimed she had a bomb. And so there was, it was, you could just see the hits and everything. When that happened, when something like that happened where it actually mattered, then the hits went through the roof. Twitter exploded. Everything to do with Campbell's University just exploded. And that wasn't necessarily just our students. It was just people who had heard that, there were 12 students from Campbellsville University who were on a plane, and the plane got derouted, and there were fighter jets escorting it to the airport, and this, and that, and the other. It was something exceptional. And so, therefore, there was a lot of traffic. However, 2 days later, after the story died, right back down to, So, in terms, there are some really good, I say really good, there are some interesting things that are coming out now that's sort of been produced by, it's come out of Amazon, actually. In fact, Amazon has bought the company, and, Amazon's great at tracking your search.
Every move.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Every move, your every move.
And so, I go to Amazon, and, I'm looking at Amazon, and it pops up and says, you need to buy this book. And it's like, dang, I do, So what they're doing now is they're taking this technology, and there's a company, Target X, I believe is what it's called, and they're into content relation management. And so what they're doing is they're taking information not only from Facebook, but they will scan the net. They will scan the web. And if you're on Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Yahoo, wherever you're at, the crawlers will seek out and find you. And so as you build a relationship with these students, it begins to compile all of this information. And so you can actually, and it's kind of creepy really, because you can get, you can see what the students are saying on their social network site. You can see the real student. You can, the parties and all, you can see all this stuff. And so you kind of get an idea of who the student is. And then through a process of examining this research or this information, then you can base your recruiting off of the information that you've collected from these various social networking sites. So in terms of Facebook, to me, it's just it's a tool that can be used, but in terms of being able to prove anything in terms of retention or recruitment, I haven't seen that yet. All I can see is the traffic and read some of the posts. So I think there has to be a more organized approach at doing this with, incorporating some of the CRM technology and that type of thing if the school's really going to get serious, about using social networking in that way.
I think it's interesting to point out that none of the panel members said anything about leads in that. We know that you can generate leads from Facebook, certainly, but nobody mentioned leads over there, which I think is interesting because I don't think that that's necessarily the success we're looking for out of Facebook. We find, and this spans across my experiences in other industries as well, that Facebook certainly has proven to be a very good branding tool for organizations across the board. And the interesting thing is that when we talk about what is a like worth to us on our Facebook pages, well, technically what it's worth in terms of just pure networking numbers is on average 250 eyeballs. Because the average Facebook user has about 250 networked friends or family that's on their page. So what that means is that we're doing some branding through, again, that predisposed family and friend group that I talked about. If you remember from our keynote in the beginning of the conference, the Islanian study is going to show that a 3.9 rating was given to word of mouth, basically, friends and family referring the school. Well, in essence, we're talking about the digital age of word of mouth advertising here. So while we don't want to propose that you blast marketing or sales messages out about your school and program every minute of the day in order to get in front of those eyeballs that are on their smartphones, on their Android or iPhone Facebook apps, what we do want to say is that when people are on Facebook, friends and family see what is being posted to your Facebook if they're friends with somebody that's associated with the Campbellsville or the Highland community or the Brescia, the page. And so that's very valuable time spent in front of those eyeballs. Content is one way that you can leverage that as well. And that's something else we haven't really talked about is by providing content on the website and just sharing it, a link up on your Facebook page, you get a lot out of that. So that kind of is a good segue into how do you guys feel moving forward in the future you want to approach, or that you think your organizations will approach, your institutions will approach using social media, as far as recruitment, as far as retention, and so on. Maybe even as far as administratively, admissions and enrollments and things like that, financial aid.
Well, I think it's important to clarify that not all just Facebook and Twitter are social media. There are many options out there. So although you should focus on things like this because they're very popular, there are many other options out there. One thing that we're doing is Foursquare. Does anybody know what Foursquare is? Okay. We are advertising on our Foursquare that with an application you get a free blank. We have a bag full of goodies from the from yeah, it was. You can get a free T-shirt. You can pick out of this bag full of things. What it does is brings in local people to the campus to talk to us. It's been very successful as far as bringing extra people in, bringing students that are already on campus in to see us, which is always good because the more connections that student makes, the better chance you've got of keeping them. So, and it's just free things that we have left over from alumni did a party and they didn't get rid of all of their Frisbees. It doesn't do anything, doesn't cost the institution anything extra, and it provides us with applications or connections with the students that we already have. Facebook, the marketing's getting cheaper on there. People will be using that more because of the stock going down now that it was public. So the marketing becomes a little more cost effective for you to do on Facebook. The likes, 250 people. I try to like things on my professional Facebook page that my students would enjoy, and it draws them into my page and allows them to leave me comments and create discussion boards through Facebook and keep them connected to me. And the institution does that as well through different things that they find that either is going on in Owensboro or is going on in the Catholic Diocese, things like that. I think as we develop an understanding for how people view social media and how it becomes interactive for those individuals, it will really grow as something that we're going to be doing. And I think that as that occurs, more people will be doing, you may have a social media major or minor in school. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with these things, because now that it's out there, people will continue to grow things. MySpace is dead, pretty much, but it created a foundation for Facebook, and Facebook is huge. And what will Facebook give way to? And people will be looking for, hire people for social media, because it becomes such a, not necessarily free, but a way of hitting as many people in different countries. On my Facebook alone, my personal and professional, I have at least 20 different countries of people. And we have international programs. We have online programs. Anyone can go anywhere in the world. And that has assisted in recruiting people through a friend of a friend of a friend, because people talk. And they know how much I like where I work. And just because I like where I work, they automatically assume we have the greatest education program in the entire world. And they can assume that all they want, because that helps us. So I think social media will become a very big part of marketing for institutions and colleges, especially for us as nonprofits, in order to compete with the proprietary schools.
Yeah, I agree with Patrick. I was just looking at my alma mater, and they posted a job announcement for a social media specialist full-time. That was the only responsibility. It looked like the funnest job in the world. I mean, really, to pay me to be on Facebook all day, I'll take it. But of course, I'm devoted to my current job, so that's not something I'm quite interested in making that move. However, we are adding some additional staffing to our online team so that we can have more time to do some Facebook status updates and get into the social media realm a little bit more. Additionally, the article I read this morning, I'm hoping that we can implement some freebie programs to try and increase traffic on our Facebook. Other than that, we're doing the best we can. I try and go into Hootsuite when I do and post, for the postings to go in at like 2 o'clock in the morning when our students are studying, or, my phone's ringing, sorry, or at like 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, evening, when they get home from work. Because you think, oh, I'll do it first thing in the morning when I get in the office. No one's gonna see it at 8 a.m. because they're in bed or they're elsewhere, they're at their jobs where Facebook is blocked. So trying to think critically about when to do the things that you're gonna do on Facebook has been really helpful too, and so we'll hopefully can do that a little bit more. Excuse me.
Well, again, I'm going to come at this from a more of a business standpoint than an academic standpoint. And I think, in my opinion, we need to think bigger. How many of you have international programs? Okay. Chinese, all right, that is the harvest is ripe. The workers are few. I think we need to think outside of the box a little bit, moving away from Facebook. And I know this is about Facebook, but we can sort of pull all this together. There are a lot of new social media networks out there that are sort of built around the quote-unquote Asian market. And so, if you go back to this idea of somehow being able to connect all of these social networks together through one database, through the CRM, then basically you're getting a whole lot more bang for your buck. And so I was writing down, there are some new social networking sites in China. One's called Sina Weibo, and it's basically the China's Twitter. It's their version of Twitter. You've got Renren, which is the Chinese version of Facebook. There's another one called Tencent, and it's an instant messaging type social media hub. And there's several more. And the Nielsen has shown that 23% of our traffic, of our internet traffic right now, is social networking. And in fact, there's one report that says that social networking has overtaken porn in the most popular surfing, which is amazing, I mean, seriously. But the thing is, it's not just Facebook. It's again, it's social networking. So, I think Facebook, they're number 2, only behind Google in terms of traffic, and, they are big, there's no doubt about it. But, it's in this global economy, I think, especially as a small school getting into distance education, we need to look at it from a global standpoint, and that's going to include these several million people that's coming out of China. So.
Yeah, there's a question.
Yes.
I've been listening to this. I want to clarify something. Did you say that the purpose of Facebook was not to generate leads?
No, I said we find that leads aren't typically generated. It can be,
Okay,
certainly.
Because it was sold to my institution that we needed to jump on Facebook by Learning House to generate leads. So there's a reframing of this. Of course, that was a couple years ago in one of your predecessors, but
Sure.
But the other thing that strikes me as an administrator is the one thing I'm hearing that seems to be a consistent theme is that there's a lot of assumptions being made of how a Facebook presence is helping, your brand and everything else. Well, we've only got a handful of people at my institution who are doing online education, and it seems to me that it sounds like a lot of wasted time, for a lot of assumptions that down the road Facebook's going to find me some students or whatever. There's just not enough bodies to go around, and I'm just wondering if this isn't a generational fad type thing in the sense that, you just said it 4 years ago that MySpace was the place to be camped out at.
Yeah.
Can't prove it by me, and, even if you look at Google right now, or not Google, Facebook, one of the reasons their stock is dropping is that just before the stock came out, the point was made about, it hasn't proved an effective platform for marketing anything. But we're investing tons of time and time is money in the cases of our staffs and everything else. As an administrator, I'm not sure it's a good use of my time to have a bunch of staff members camped out on Facebook saying, "Woohoo, I'm at a conference."
Sure.
Because in the grand scheme of things,
Absolutely. I mean, I know that the resources are limited, and did you want to address that?
Hey, would you take the mic to him so we all can hear?
Please.
I'm sorry.
I've got a couple of responses to that. Number one, Facebook is out there. I too am very, very concerned about the amount of time, staff time, that it will take to monitor and administer Facebook. But we're going ahead with it and segmenting it as part of our online programming as far as just another communication tool. There are two things that I would say. Number one, going back to the word of mouth thing. It is the new word of mouth. That is how people informally and socially communicate with one another. And secondly, when I say Facebook is out there, last spring, Iowa Wesleyan College, the academic dean put together a team to try to put together a social media policy for the institution. We found out two things. Number one, you might as well try to control the conversation in the student union. You can't have a very aggressive social media policy. But number two, and this is the point, we found that there were a lot of Iowa Wesleyan College, quote unquote, Facebooks already out there, but we weren't controlling them. We weren't administering them. So that's one way that you want to try to shape the conversation that's going on out there. And I think that's the value of at least considering getting into Facebook.
Okay. I like to say something on the matter with the Facebook. It does take a lot of time. I like to think of it in a sense of it's a point of contact. So you may not be able to get to the student necessarily whenever you're getting in the student's mind for a quarter of a second every time they see a post from you. So although you may not be able to get a hold of them via email or by phone or by any of the other 100,000 means we try to get a hold of these students and they never return our calls, they see you on Facebook, they may make a mental note to say, I need to make sure that I get them tomorrow, or, oh, I forgot I should do that, or, oh, I need to go ahead and do that, or, screw them, I don't want to do anything with them anymore. Anything to get in their head for a quarter of a second to become a strain of thought just for a little bit, I think is worth the effort.
Did you want to respond at all furthermore? Excellent. Yeah, I mean, as far as generating leads, to address your original comment, the thought previously was, Facebook, like everybody's saying, everybody's there. You can generate leads from it. You can generate students from it. The reality is that you can help your lead generation efforts by doing that branding, by protecting your brand, which goes to the heart of what you were talking about, I feel, because it just goes to show that people are out there talking about you whether you want to or not. And they may be saying the right things, they may be saying the wrong things. We oftentimes, just to kind of go off on a tangent, will recommend that you just do a limited pay-per-click advertising campaign strictly to protect your brand space on Google, for example, because people are searching your name and other schools, other institutions are bidding on your name if you haven't protected that space. So Facebook is no different. How long will Facebook be around? How long will social media be around? I think that social media and social networking will be around for a long time. Whether or not it's manifested in the form of Facebook is a whole nother matter. The IPO may kill it. You know, the IPO may end up making it ultimately just another big entity that nobody wants to deal with, and it may see the same demise as MySpace. But I think at the end of the day, social networking is certainly going to be around. I think the inception of the smartphone, just like with bringing back email, the inception of smartphones and Facebook or other apps brings that back to the forefront. Because honestly, the only time I look at Facebook when I'm not in one of your all's Facebook pages or looking at your all's Facebook pages for business reasons is when I'm on my phone and I'm just checking in on friends and family and seeing what's going on with their lives. I don't usually do it through the desktop because I'm usually logged in to one of the professional Facebook pages that I'm helping manage. So, you know, nobody can tell what's going to happen, you know, with what happened with Facebook in the initial offering. But I think social networking in general, and it speaks to what Tim talked about, is broadening your horizons as far as some of the social networks that are out there to embark on. Now, that doesn't help you because you're just spreading yourself thinner, right? I mean, it makes it even more difficult to manage all those.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, my suspicion is that you're doing a lot of work and running in place. Most of our institutions, I would assume, have limited resources, and you're committing a lot of resources to the assumption that people are visiting your site, and you know, I just don't think that a lot of these platforms, if they're on Facebook, they're there to hang out with their friends and their buddies, check up on relatives. They're not there to hang out at a university website, you know, and that's just me. They put to you this, I've got kids and everything else, and none of us camped out on anything, you know, except for friends, family, and you know, when
Sure.
kids have 400 friends, they're not visiting, you know, their local institution.
Sure.
Well, that I feel like is the beauty of how